sad to think about. Now you've upset me. You've really upset me.
Oh, apologies.
Oh, bloody hell.
Let's go back to hanging shit on Seamus.
Yeah, right. Let's do that. Paul, welcome to your first sleepover at the house of Mario. I know you've been here before, but this is your first sleepover.
Yeah, looking forward to cuddling right up and having a chat. It's going to be awesome to be on board, man.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad to be here and have a chat with you because it's been a little while. I think it's been since PAX.
Yeah, PAX last year.
Yeah, and since doing it by myself, I don't really bring on my friends that much, so it's nice to be able to talk to some of you guys. And the memory that comes to mind first is just your recording of Bryce and I just drunk in the back of your car. That's usually something that comes to mind.
Yeah,
it's very funny.
There's that. There's reading fanfic and all those sorts of things on the show.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah, I was telling Josh from Nintendonia about that last week actually, and he went back and had a listen to it, and he said he was laughing at work. So well, that's good. Hope you weren't hope you weren't playing it out loud anyway.
If you can, what episode number is that? I need to actually go and check that back out again.
I think it was 25.
Good.
I thought it was like in the 30s, but yeah, it's a long time ago. Reading that fan fiction with Wario and Waluigi, and it goes from a few cheeky farts to
pretty hardcore in those.
Yeah, went pretty.
We went to some dark places.
Yeah. See, I always think back to the episode I brought you, Dylan Blight, and Dash on, and I got you to do another fanfic, and I always think like, was that an awful decision? Did I scar Paul? Did he never want to come back because of that?
Absolutely not. No, loved it.
Oh, you loved it. Okay.
I was just in that mindful sort of spot that, and it's something that's kind of cooled over the years as more and more students have just discovered my content anyway, whether I like it or not. That they hear me say heinous shit on the internet all the time. So at this point, who cares if I read a bit of disgusting fan fiction? It's just that. So I'll dodge that bullet. So I actually if anything, I have a little bit of regret for not just leaning right into it completely and reading some more of it out. We'll have to do another one, right?
Yeah, I was about to say I don't have one pulled up for today, but yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
We'll find a nice Mario fan fiction to read out where Bowser eats his own tail and turns inside out, and God knows what happens.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I might have scarred Dylan though.
Dedicated episode to the fanfic too. Like, there's no news, there's no other conversation. It's just we're going to sit here and read a story to you, the listener, today. And you're probably going to hate it.
Yeah. I've been doing a thing on Sleepover where I basically ask, what are some good sleepover memories you've had in your past involving video games, or, I dare say they involve video games. You might have a good memory of riding a BMX bike and doing a backflip over your mate's house.
No, I can't say that it was too much of that. BMX, any of those was never really my jam. But no, certainly you're right. Like a lot of some of my old favorite kind of sleepover style stories do involve video games. Whether it was even things kind of towards mid to late teens and even early 20s, where you've got, not necessarily the old kiddie style sleepover, but coming over, have a couple drinks and watch E3 or whatever it happened to be, and just a couple all nighters with people. Going back to the earlier days of just sitting up and playing. Oh, geez, there would have been some classic RPGs on the Super Nintendo. There would have been Smash Brothers and whatnot on the 64 till early hours. A lot. There's a lot of actually a lot of it actually would revolve around Nintendo titles, really. So your Mario Karts, your Smash Brothers, those sorts of games always worked in that sort of setting, and that was whether I was 7 or 8 all the way through to 20 plus years longer. They're styles of games that translate very well to that sort of scenario. So lots of good memories around some of those. Iggy's Wrecking Balls is one game that I remember. Do you recall that one from the 64?
No, I don't.
That's certainly one that I remember getting a lot of airtime at one point. That would have been late primary school years in that particular instance. Don't necessarily remember too much about what actually transpired over the night, but that was one of the... Oh, okay. And no, not because I was cutting loose and smashing beers at 8 years old.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
There wasn't anything necessarily amazing about, or no particular high notes from the whole thing, but it was just consistent fun the entire time, and we just did not break from that game. It just had us hooked. New round, constantly trying to be number one. and it just worked in that setting, and that would have been basically all night until stupid 8 to 10-year-old Paul finally ran out of steam.
Yeah, there's so many games I've had just up all night with your mates. I wish we still had it now. I know we're adults, we've got responsibilities, but don't you wish you could just have your mates over and just stay up all night now? And be like, I don't need to go to work in the morning. The kids don't need breakfast. Who cares? I'd nice to do that at least one more time.
Look, I do it from time to time, but more so on my own. And that way, if things go pear-shaped with the kids, I'm still there to do it and whatever. Maybe I'm still sleepless because I stayed up till 4 a.m. watching whatever, doing whatever, and then all of a sudden the early wake up from the kids completely ruins the couple of hours I might have planned to get. But yeah, I do miss the opportunities to sit up with mates and do it, whether it's just binging games or watching an not an E3, I guess, but like a Summer Games Fest or equivalent style things. It'd be cool, and I'm sure an opportunity will come again, but it's just really down to kids getting a bit older and potentially one day doing some of these things with the kids, and then getting the hateful look from my wife and saying, why are you costing them a full night's sleep? That's important to them, and our son is sleep deprived. He has not slept in 48 hours thanks to you and your BS attitude. Like,
oh yeah, I would love to do that. Just, all right, kids, this is what's going on. We've got Gamescom, 3 a.m. Jeff Keighley, he's having a presentation. There's going to be announcements, updates, brand new gaming news. We're staying up.
Bill Clinton and GTA 6.
Yeah, there's so much stuff that's going to happen. So, and in between all that, we're going to be partying. I got the beers. Let's get amongst it.
I guess the closest I get to these things is every year. I mean, we had a little break during the pandemic years, but every year, Player 2, we have the Player 2 charity marathon every year. And so I'll travel up to my editor, Matt Hewson's place in Canberra, and it's 24 hours. We're rotating a game every single hour. That's kind of, I guess, the closest I get these days. And I guess it's pretty close to that old experience. There's people cycling through all the time. There's games being rotated through every hour. But usually the fact that I have to have it's a significant drive to get up there means that I end up dozing off at some point and jokes get made about me. And then Matt's wife will wondering, like, give me a little nudge, like, hey, any chance you want to go to bed? And me, my groggy state goes, yeah, rather than, oh shit, hang on, I'm asleep, I need to get back into the marathon. So you have this walk of shame moment of me drifting across the camera as I'm making my way off to somewhere else. One of these days I won't be so sleep deprived from kids and long drives, and I'll be able to actually get through the whole thing. But until then we'll just try and make the best of it.
Yeah, when do you think that's going to be, Paul? When do you reckon you're going to be full of beans? And
look, they're 4 and 2, so I think I've probably got a couple more years before the kids are giving me regular sleep. I've had 2 nights in a row where I haven't had to go into either of their rooms, and it's felt like bliss.
Oh my god! I'm a new man.
Yeah, but then I fell asleep on the couch playing embargoed games, so didn't quite nail it.
Oh, yeah, I'm thankful because my son is a good sleeper. Last night he did not sleep well, and I'm feeling it tonight. So
yeah, it's one of those weird ones.
One.
It's certainly one of those weird ones where, like, if your kids have always been rubbish sleepers, then you kind of become a bit desensitized to it. But from what you're describing, where you've got a child who sleeps well, when all of a sudden they have a shocker, it just hits you for 6.
Yeah, because
it's the body shock.
We've got a set of friends who had their kid on the exact same day we had ours, only basically an hour apart.
Oh, right.
And she sleeps awful. She's up at least twice a night. And if my son's up twice a night, I'm like, oh my God, the world's turned upside down. Dad's not getting his bloody sleep. I'm grumpy. I'm like, mate, it's time for bed. And he's just, he's 18 months old. He's like, you on about Dad? Get the bloody bed, mate. Bloody. This is Dad's sleeping time or gaming time.
I'll give you a talking to.
Yeah, that's right. Get the dad voice from bloody. What are you doing? Get in the bloody bed.
Oh, jeez.
You can tell with dads. It's just automatically straight to kids.
Yeah, straight to kids. Yeah, dad talk kind of switches in there. But
it's so true
though.
Though.
Bryce in for the next time they'll come on board, and we can all wax about this sort of thing.
Because I find myself just going through my phone and it's all pictures of him. And every now and again, if there's somebody that gives a shit, I'm like, oh, look at him. Like doing the thing where you're pointing at pictures of your kids. And, oh, my God.
Well,
I'm one of them. I'm a dad.
This
I've made
week's within, and I, as a lot of people know, I work in the school system, and this week is book week. And whilst
Yes, it is.
as a high school teacher, there's not a lot especially as a high school maths teacher, there's not a lot that I have to do with book week. But my son's kinder was okay. Everyone dressed, as characters from your favorite books, and he wanted Spider-Man. So got a photo of him this morning, and he's got the little pose going where he's trying to, firing his webs off. And I'm just walking around work this morning, and look at this, look at this, look at this, look at him. He looks like Spider-Man. He's having a great time. It's just it's that parental thing that you find yourself doing regularly, and to those who aren't parents that experience that from me, I'm sorry. It's probably too much. I apologise. But if you don't tell me to stop, then I won't stop.
I don't remember book week being a thing when I was in high school. Is that a thing they've brought in for secondary school?
No,
recently,
I know it was a thing through my son, and didn't really hear peep through high school, through my high school teaching. But then as I was I have to drive past a couple of primary schools on my way to my work, and the number of kids that are walking around in various different costumes or whatever for book week, I'm going, oh, geez, right. All the pennies start dropping for me. Okay, I don't think I've noticed this any other year, but this would have been happening every single year, and I've just been totally desensitized to it until it actually occurred in my own household.
Yeah, I'm the exact same way. Lucas, he went as a koala, so we just got him like a little koala onesie. And that was nice and easy. But I can imagine you just at work, in front of the class, and you're just in a big pink sleeping bag, and you're just like, I'm a bookworm. And you're just jumping around just in front of the whiteboard, like pointing at things. Like, try that next year, maybe.
Yeah,
you still got tomorrow at this time, so
try and convince some of the staff to get it up on the staff. Maybe a whole bunch of us can do it and be the widely considered the worst teachers in the joint as a result.
You get a laugh out of some of the kids with a sense of humour.
Yeah. Especially if there's any of them can actually appreciate a dad joke, because that absolutely fits the bill. So.
Oh, no. It makes me cringe, but it makes me laugh as well. I've got a very vivid imagination, and I can just really imagine Paul jumping around.
Or just leaning right into it, being a worm, just start rolling around on the ground trying to...
Yeah, you just really role play it. You like don't talk. You just eat dirt. Yeah,
roll away from anyone who tries to step on me.
Yeah. All right. Enough worm talk. Let's talk about some video games, Paul. So it's been an absolutely fantastic year so far, and I'm just curious, what are some of your favourite games you've been playing this year? Because this is something for everybody, and there's just a massive glut of games coming out in the next couple of months as well, which I'm sure you're busy or will be busy reviewing for Player 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what are some of your favourites?
Yeah,
so far?
been pretty busy throughout the course of the year, taking on lots of different games across pretty much all platforms. I have, and dating back to kind of my early days with the Super Nintendo, big JRPG guy. So Final Fantasy 16 it was right up the top of the radar basically going into this year, and it is absolutely one of my favourite games from the year, despite the fact that it really kind of steps away from a lot of those traditional aspects, I suppose. It's very much just kind of Devil May Cry, Bayonetta style game, but absolutely adored it. As of recording, and thankfully we're recording a bit of a vacuum here. I've been playing Sea of Stars as well, which is a game that again, similar sort of thing. It's really heavily inspired by Chrono Trigger from the Super Nintendo era, and that is, as of this point in time, ticking a lot of those boxes for me. It's making me feeling very warm and nostalgic. Pikmin 4 on the Nintendo side specifically. You know in particular how big of a fan I am of Pikmin. Oh my god, it's so good. I don't know how far I want to go in terms. I haven't really sat down and stewed upon it in terms of where it perhaps might fit in like a top 5 or top 10 in my head, but it is right up there. I'm dancing around the other big elephant in the room when it comes to Nintendo, because I know that some people aren't overly keen from my perspective when it comes to a certain iconic franchise that put out its newest entry this year.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
I
remember your thoughts on the last one. It's like infamous for our show. That take. Oh shit! That really struck a chord with Bryce and I.
I'll go gently, because I haven't played Tears of the Kingdom yet. Just to be crystal clear. So this is still purely based on Breath of the Wild and what I know Tears to be in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
I wasn't. A lot of people know that I was not thrilled with the direction that Breath of the Wild went in. I accept that it is a fantastic game and actually believe it's a fantastic game, but I just can't kind of accept it as a Zelda game. And Tears of the Kingdom, I'm kind of looking at it a little bit through that lens as well. But I also do see the dungeons. I do see the many things that have been discussed by yourself and many others kind of post-launch. And I look and go, there might be a chance that this one actually hits the sweet spot between the path that they're trying to go down and those traditional aspects that I like and love about Zelda. So at the moment, it's just been a case of finding the time to sit down and play it, and I haven't been able to do so yet. But I really want to, and I want to love it. It'll just have to be. It's just a wait and see at the moment. As hopefully the dust settles, I guess like there's a lot of games coming out across all platforms between kind of September and October in particular. But as things start to slow down in November, that might be my chance to go, okay, let's really dive into this thing. Let's think it through, hopefully reassess. Like I obviously throw a lot of shade out there whenever I get an opportunity about it, and that's mostly just for content, having a bit of fun and a laugh and leaning into a narrative.
I love
been
the
built.
trolling. I love the trolling. I reckon it's hilarious.
Because my opinions on Breath of the Wild were totally like I stand by them still, but I liked it. I enjoy building a bit of a narrative around the whole thing, and having a bit of fun with it because I know it's a highly unpopular opinion.
So what is that opinion? Just to
it's stamina, it's it's weapon degradation. These aspects I didn't like in other games as is. So to drop them into my Zelda game, my Zelda franchise that I adored. The open world I didn't really have too many problems with. The argument could be thrown that it was a little bit too empty, but I know that that's kind of something that's been rectified a little bit through Tears anyway, so not something that's really on my radar for this. It was really those two mechanics primarily that just drove me mad, because they drove me mad in so many other games. Like I think I was already quite resistant to what was going on simply due to prior experiences with those mechanics. And there wasn't enough of Breath of the Wild where it, I don't know, course corrected some of those concerns that I was able to come on board fully. So I'm hoping that with Tears it's a little bit different, that with these other aspects, those core traditional Zelda aspects that have been introduced, or reintroduced I should say, with this one, that maybe there's more positives than negatives for me, and I can really start to lean into it and be able to better ignore those aspects that I just don't enjoy about a lot of those a lot of them are survival game aspects really. So if I can kind of ignore those elements, then who knows, Breath of the Wild Tears could end up being one of my games of the year. I just need to, at this point, carve out the time.
Yeah. Obviously you're a massive Zelda fan of like the older games. I think there's a lot to love in Tears of the Kingdom. For you, it's just whether the new stuff that they've implemented is up to snuff for you, but I guess we'll find out one day when you get there.
I certainly worry that I'm going to, that old man shouting at a cloud thing meme, because I don't want to be that guy. I don't like being too cynical about it, and I absolutely adore Zelda. So it doesn't necessarily. I mean, it's fun in the in the content creation side of it, but it doesn't feel good for me being someone who loves this franchise but feels kind of a bit jaded and on the outs at the moment, because I want to be all up Zelda. But I'll word that differently next time. But
slow on that take,
I love that franchise, and I want it to be kind of still at the very pinnacle for me. It's lost that a little bit due to Breath of the Wild, but I want that to change. So as a result, I want to make sure I have kind of some clear air when the time comes to play Tears of the Kingdom, and I can really absorb it and take it in and not get too distracted by the noise around it. So and hopefully do it before the Game Awards and all those sort of things kick in, because if it starts getting Game of the Year left, right and centre, which obviously it's a pretty good year this year, and there's a lot of stiff competition, but it's going to be right up to its eyeballs just based on the reception that it's already received. If I play it after that point, that's going to start to become like there's going to be that additional voice in my head that's saying it's brilliant, and then I'm going to start to push back on that as well. Like again, those aspects that I know I'm possibly not going to like. Yeah, I want some clear air and do it properly. So hopefully, I feel like
the reviews would do that anyway, though, because a lot of them came out like 10 out of 10s, or the lowest end was like.
I kind of expected it though. I guess. I think I was prepared for that. So
yeah, true.
We'll see how it goes. It's going to be I'm really looking forward to it. So we'll see how we go.
What is a front runner for Game of the Year for you so far? Because we've got Starfield in a couple of weeks, so that's potential. Baldur's Gate 3
Yeah,
was
those
massive.
would be right up there.
That's not on my radar at all. Baldur's Gate, but it's best reviewing game of the year so far.
It's unreal. This 97 that I believe it's still on Metacritic as of fairly recently. I mean, we talking my own personal ones here, or what am I kind of expecting to see in that conversation at the end of the year?
Your personal ones, yeah.
I mean, I guess there's some little gaps, and we've touched on Tears of the Kingdom as an example. I haven't played Baldur's Gate either because my PC is based in my shed, and it can get awfully cold in here sometimes. So I find myself not playing too many games on the PC unless it's through absolute necessity for reviews. So I'm waiting to play Baldur's Gate on the PlayStation when it comes out in a couple of weeks. But I expect that might be there for me. Again, it might be an issue of the game commanding so much of my time that I might just drift away as a result. But I can see things like, for myself, I can see things like Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I can see, Final Fantasy 16 is probably my number one at the moment. Starfield should be pretty close. Pikmin, as we've discussed, will be absolutely right there. What else? Well, I'm trying to think. Dredge. The New Zealand developed title, fantastic, from Black Salt. That's an awesome title. Octopath Traveler 2, absolutely adored it. What else? Fire Emblem, I think it gets forgotten, and I feel like I'm perhaps a greater chance of forgetting it more than most because I actually finished the game at the end of 2022. But Fire Emblem Engage,
early, yeah.
So that's right up there as well, as far as I'm concerned. I thought it was an excellent Fire Emblem title, and it was just a matter of, I have to make sure that I keep that one at the forefront of my mind because Nintendo was very generous in providing the review code for me really, really early, such that I was actually able to complete the game on New Year's Eve of 2022, which was still about 3 weeks before the game came out. So, nice privileged position to be in, but it means that every now and then I forget that it was actually a 2023 game.
I guess so, because everyone's celebrating brand new year and you're just like sat down just plotting out your strategy.
Pretty much.
Find them some waifus.
For the most part, it's two little kids not allowing me to go out and celebrate too much. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to try and save the world. Did a pretty good job of it, I thought. And one other game that there's probably two other games I'll shout out. Diablo 4 is absolutely going to be right up thereabouts. And in a joking sense, the worst game that I've played all year, Lord of the Rings Gollum.
Oh, you played that?
I had to play that for review. And,
I'm so sorry.
And
they really threw you under the bus with that one, eh? Jesus Christ.
I took it on because I could see the writing on the wall. No one else was going to be keen.
Yeah.
And I expected it to be okay at best, but it turned out we got nowhere near its best. So,
yeah, it's funny. It's one of those games where they just say like the concept. It's like, what? Why? Why'd you bother making that?
And
there's games about like what the golf. You hear the concept for that. It's like, well, it's a golf game, but it's just like for people who hate golf, and you're just smacking everything into holes. Well, that sounds awesome. That's
it's
a good
actually
concept.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's like, what a weird concept. And it's like, well, you play as this character, Gollum from the movies and the book, and he sucks and he's annoying, and that's the game. Congratulations. You can make some choices, but they don't matter at all, and it's what a great time. $100, please.
Yeah, go for it. Look, I'll give him credit for as bad as that game was. I think I had my favourite Let's Play experience of the year playing Gollum. The game at the time, and I believe it was patched out on the console almost immediately after the embargo or after launch anyway. It had like a specific hair physics toggle, and I turned it on because I'm like, why wouldn't I? Like, I guess I want to see everything working at its absolute best. I don't understand why you default to having it off, but turn it on, and it turned out that was the reason the game was crashing all the time. The game could not contain Gollum's hair.
How much hair does he have?
Not a lot. I mean, we know we know what Gollum's like from the movies, and they tried to replicate him and did a pretty horrible job of it. But like, he doesn't have a lot of hair, but that hair physics was causing all sorts of issues. And so I recorded a Let's Play for this, not recognizing that was actually causing an issue. This was all still pre-launch at the time, so I didn't have that context. And the game crashed about 4 or 5 times in the space of a 15-minute Let's Play. And so I put, like, in the post, I put the little crash count up in the corner and had the little sound effects, dinging every single time it happened and capturing some of the reactions. And okay, the first time around, okay, whatever it happens, I guess it's a poor game. There's going to be crashes. And I just left the gameplay recording while I reloaded the save and just quietly wasn't for entertainment. I was just going to cut it all out and pick up from there as I start wandering back to the same scene. And I crashed on my way there. I'm like, oh, hang on, there's something going on here. I'm leaning into this, and that's it. Like the next 15 minutes were me just breaking that game into oblivion, or really just watching the game break into oblivion, I should say. It was some good times.
Yeah, I mean, you feel sad for the developers, but they did ask money for that, so that's
yeah, exactly.
That's on them.
Yeah, I certainly don't want to wish ill upon anyone, and I know that that studio, like Daedalus, not developing games anymore off the back of all that. They're only going back to publishing. So I certainly feel sorry for the developers who, I'd imagine a large chunk of them have now lost a job as a result of that. I don't want that for anyone. But there's obviously been some poor decisions made in the lead up to the release of this game, and some of which are kind of inexcusable as far as the game development scene is concerned.
Yeah, so anti-game of the year.
My anti-game of the year, yeah.
Lord of Ring Gollum.
Yes.
That apology was hilarious, how that was the typo on that, which just says Lord of Ring.
It just says everything you need to know, right? For anyone who hadn't played it, that's it. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's just what the game's all about. Yeah, no, I can't wait for just the rest of the year to play out. I'm a little bit, it gives me a little bit of anxiety, actually, just thinking about the rest of the year. Just even Nintendo just by himself, I'm like, wow, there's a fair bit there for me to play. And then you put PlayStation onto it and Xbox with Forza and Starfield. And it's like, there's a lot, let alone everything else.
Yeah.
Outside of like the major
third parties and all
ecosystems,
that,
like
the indies.
Yeah. So yeah, just so much to play, which I can't wait to dig into. But there's been a couple of indie games I've really enjoyed this year. I don't know if you've got PlayStation VR 2.
Yep.
And you've been playing much of that recently? Mine doesn't get a whole lot of use, but I'm happy I have it.
Not super recently though. I was playing Synapse, which I don't know if
been meaning to pick that up. Looks awesome. Yeah,
and it's really, really good. So it's a roguelike at its core, FPS roguelike in VR, and it plays like a dream. I'm super, super impressed by the whole thing. I've got a slightly delayed review going up for it pretty soon, actually, but
cool.
It's just I love the game. Like they really ticked a lot of boxes, and the way they gradually dole out the upgrades and the different mechanics are introduced. You feel like you're always progressing. It's very hard to get a roguelike or roguelite right. That was a bit of a mouthful. I'm glad I did that slowly. It's very hard to get those right because the balancing act is the thing that can blow all of these games up. It's why when one finally hits, like even say Rogue Legacy 2 from Salador fairly recently at the end of the day, when a game pops up and it does it masterfully, it deservedly gets celebrated because it's a very hard line to walk, and I think Synapse does a pretty damn good job of it as well, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to pick it up. I've just been looking at my stuff on PlayStation and Switch. I'm like, well, I've got a lot of stuff on my plate, so I don't
what's there already.
Need it just yet. But when it was announced, I thought it looked fantastic, and I think arcade shooters in VR are just so much fun.
Yeah,
like even to the point where I might even prefer to play like a shooter in VR than just a first-person shooter on a controller. Like, I'm not the biggest first-person shooter fan anyway, but yeah, no, it's just so much fun. Like I really enjoyed Superhot on other VR systems, still not on VR 2, but like even like the rhythm stuff, like Beat Saber,
it's a classic.
Synth Rider. I love Synth Rider.
I actually haven't tried
I think
that.
I got it because Beat Saber wasn't out yet. I think I actually prefer Synth Rider.
Really? Okay.
Synth Rider. Yeah, no, it's so much fun. Like the music's just upbeat, and instead of slashing, you're just like, you're hitting orbs and you're following rails to do the motions, and it feels awesome.
I'll have to give it a proper crack.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's worth it if you're into the rhythm games. I could just play rhythm games on VR. I find it, yeah.
It works. They work a treat there.
Yeah.
I just hadn't given that one a go. So I think I'll be maybe I'll be dusting off the VR2 again and take it for a spin.
Yeah, no, go for it. Because it's such a good workout too, like these rhythm games. I'm like, Christ, I've been squatting without even noticing I was doing it.
Well, that was one of the
Getting
things
these-
that shortly after getting the VR2, it would have been shortly after getting the VR2, I'm standing in our living room and I'm using it and playing it. It was Beat Saber. No, because it wasn't early on, but I was playing Beat Saber when it finally made its way out. And so, yeah, we're kind of in the midst of winter at this point, pretty cold. Wife walks in while I'm playing. I've got the headphones on, so I didn't hear her enter the room. She's gone and put the heater on. Naturally, it's a cold day, but where I'm positioned is basically under the heater. So after about 15, 20 minutes of rhythmically swinging my arms for the songs and the heater maxed out, cranked all over me, eventually the headset comes on and there is just like I felt like it was almost like a pool of water just fell out from the eye thing. Just what is going on here? And then I finally hear the heater. Oh my God, you've been trying to kill me while I've been in here.
I've been in a different world. I didn't even know this was going on.
And the thing is, wife wasn't even in the room. So what'd you turn the heater on for?
She must have wanted to kill you. She's like, I'm just going to set the trap and
then
let him
walk out.
into it. I set up a fan next to the TV.
Yeah.
Because I was, it must have been still hot, like early in the year. And I was just sweating. I'm like, my t-shirt was wet. I'm like, am I just really unfit, or is this requiring a lot more out of me than I, initially give it credit for? But yeah, just like doing all the squats and moving left and right. And no, I'm so happy I got the VR. I don't have that many games for it, but I have so much fun, and it's just like a completely different experience just to, playing on the controller.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice change of pace. It's something that, as far as the console manufacturer is concerned, no one else does it, and so it is a nice point of difference. It'd be nice if PlayStation themselves could support it a little bit more with some further software and not leave it to indies and third parties. And even then, there's not a great deal of third party support either. But maybe one day, maybe there's a big showcase coming down the line where they have a bit of a blowout on some VR stuff. We can hope.
Yeah. I early in the year I played Before Your Eyes on PSVR 2. Have you played that one?
Fantastic game.
Yeah.
And really novel concept.
Yeah, absolutely. You're basically like just looking through the headset and you're just looking at third person through this person's life, and you're taking in their memories. And when if you don't want the scene to move on, you got to keep your eyes open, and if you blink, it moves on to the next scene. And that was just such a smart mechanic how they used it in VR. Especially, you can just play it on your phone and stuff, but I can't imagine it having the same impact where like you're looking around and like, this is really nice, like this is a nice moment in this person's life, and you're just like trying not to blink,
and you miss
and
it.
If you blink and it goes like fuck, like you got that reaction like, no, don't take me out of this nice moment.
And you feel the eyes, like when you're really trying to hold on, you feel the eyes watering, and not necessarily through tears, but you've been forcing them open far longer than they should be, and you've got this stimuli that is millimeters away from them, like the shining lights into them. It just becomes really hard to sustain, and eventually your hand's forced, and that's it. The blink comes and off you go.
I think I was able to cheese it a little bit. Like I squinted my eyes, and like I was like blinking one, then blinking the other one, like sort of rotating my eyes as like, more air was getting on them. And I was just trying to work that out a little bit. I would have looked like I'm having a spaz inside this inside the VR, but yeah, that was great. And I cried so much. I took off the helmet. I was just, and in our bedroom we got a mirror, and I looked in the mirror. I was just bright red, covered in tears, and like I only remember this because I took a photo of the headset afterwards. My headset, like the bit what covers your face, blocks out the light. It was just This was wet.
Oh,
like I just cried my fucking eyes out playing that game. Especially as like just becoming a dad. How that story turns out.
Can hit you right in the feels. Yeah, it's pretty impactful stuff. They did an amazing job, and it's one of those ones that can only work in VR.
Definitely.
I assume they haven't ported it and kind of tweaked it in some way to make it work on some other platform, have they?
Oh no, it is on phone. It uses the camera on your phone and stuff.
Okay, so they've been able to kind of replicate it, I guess.
Because you can play it through your Netflix subscription on iOS and Android.
Oh, cool!
But,
I didn't realize that. That's awesome.
So I assume it uses your front camera, and like it can detect you doing it that way. You'd be able to cheese it that way. Just put your thumb over the camera.
I'm not blinking. Just hold a picture of yourself up while you're playing. I'm just going to be like here doing this, and I've got the photo of myself sitting right next to it.
Yeah, just like I could stay in this moment forever. You're not taking me out. Yeah, so that was an absolutely great great game to play. It's in my top 10. It's in my 8 because I'm keeping track of the games.
Yeah.
Every time I finish a game, I'm putting in order. So when I get to the end of the year, I can't change the order. I've got to put a game in place like as soon as I finish it. So there's no like shuffling stuff around. It's either if it goes in at 4, it can get pushed down to 5, 6, 7, 8.
It's not going any
stuff
higher.
has to go in front of it. Yeah, it's not going any higher.
It's a fair challenge in the whole thing because obviously, there's always that initial bias that people can have, and
Yeah.
When you get to the end of the year and maybe it's Super Mario Wonder or whatever the game might happen, Spider-Man, whatever the Starfield, whatever it happens to be, play one of these games and your gut instinct might be initially, okay, I think that might be the best game I've played all year, but then when time wears off a little, or when a little bit of time passes and the initial glow kind of wears off a bit, you go, oh, maybe it wasn't quite as good as that game that I'd rated before, but it's too late. You've made your call. So it's a fair challenge. It gets you to think pretty deeply about it. I like what you're doing.
Yeah, I sort of just sit there and like sitting on the couch with the controller, beside me while like the credits are going. I like do a little review just on the GG app, and I put it into my list. I sort of think about it then, but I guess you have that bias if I put together the whole list like at the end of the year, or I put it together as I go. Like I guess the bias is still there, yeah. But absolutely. I think a lot of the games I play this year are like sort of backlog stuff. Because I'm just looking at the stuff that I've beaten, but I haven't. I've got a lot of the newer games that came out this year. I've got them like on the go.
Yep.
I haven't actually finished them yet because like the biggest ones be like Pikmin 4 and Final Fantasy 16. I have them, but I have not started them because they came out when I was sort of in a couple of months where I just wasn't playing many games, and now it's sort of hard to get back onto that train.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And like I mentioned a little bit earlier, that anxiety is kicking in a little bit. Like, oh god,
falling behind, new things coming out.
Yeah, and that's not even as like a podcaster. That's just as a gamer.
Yeah,
that's just oh god.
It's an intimidating thing. I mean, like the circumstances between us differs in the sense that I reviewed both Final Fantasy 16 and then Pikmin 4. Like I've been making sure over the course of the last couple of years to when a game code comes in, maybe something I'm really really keen on, find someone else on the team to do it, because when that kind of must play game for me comes along, I want to be able to pull rank. And this year, the two that I wanted to pull rank with were Pikmin 4 and Final Fantasy 16. And it just so I got generous lead time on both thanks to both Square Enix and Nintendo. But Pikmin 4 came in, I think it was about 2 days, before the Final Fantasy 16 embargo was up. So I realized at that moment, like, holy crap, like I am, as I mentioned before, like already struggling a little bit with this. I'd face planted the couch a couple of times while playing Final Fantasy 16, just having been that tired from dad duties and all those sorts of things, and playing a lengthy RPG over multiple nights.
And being a bookworm.
Being a bookworm. Falling asleep on the couch in the process, and started to fall a little bit behind, put myself in dicey territory as to whether I'd actually get it done in time to then do anything else I might have needed to do and review the product. But then Pikmin 4 drops into my inbox. I'm like, oh no, this has just gotten so much worse, because I've pulled rank on both of these and now I'm spinning both plates. That there was 48 hours there towards the end of Final Fantasy 16 where the anxiety was going into overdrive. So then that was ultimately still fine, because Nintendo is so generous often with their pre-release embargoes for these sorts of things, where it was still almost it must have been about a month that I had.
Yeah, I was thinking, because it's like, wait a minute, those games came out pretty far apart. But yeah, I guess the overlap, it did overlap for you.
Yeah, it ended up overlapping for me, but it's like it kind of cushions the blow a little bit for me. But then when I get moments like that, it was a very brief period, but I get moments like that, I 100% rewind back to the exact mode you were discussing and what so many other gamers do. Like, that anxiety of like all these things that I want to play, they're all coming at me at once. It's what we're all going to be facing, I think, it comes September, because it doesn't matter whether you get early access or not. It's going to be unavoidable with the likes of Spider-Man, with the likes of Alan Wake, with the likes of Mario, I guess multiple Marios before the end of the year. I don't think there's any way people can avoid it, and it doesn't matter what level of access you've got. So
Just say fuck it. Get a different hobby. Go get into cross stitching. Just relax.
I'm just going to go
Don't
be a
play
bookworm
games.
again.
Yeah, be a bookworm. Get into some books. Well, when it comes to books though, Paul, you got a bigger problem. There's way more books.
A lot of
A lot of books coming out too.
A lot of books. Audiobooks. I'll have an audiobook in the ear whilst I'm reading something else. And try and keep track of both stories at once.
A different audiobook in each ear when you're reading another one.
Yeah.
Just taking the information.
2 different sets of AirPods, both connected to different devices, both pumping in 2 different audiobooks whilst I read a book in my hands as well.
And in the other hand, you're reading in Braille.
Oh.
That's a skill.
One that none of us have. None of us have. None of us can spin for 2 books, let alone 3, 4. So,
man, I listened to one audiobook. I'm like, wait, rewind. What did you just say, mate? what was that?
I don't listen to too many audiobooks for that exact reason. Actually, like it's because there'll be the tendency to now that I don't have to be physically holding the book, that maybe I can multitask a little bit. But then I'm not listening properly to whatever it is that's being said, and I do exactly what you said. I start rewinding, scrubbing back a little bit. Hang on, play that bit again. What was said? So then I'm not necessarily doing the author or myself actually a service by consuming it the way that I am. So I think I need to show a bit more discipline when it comes to any sort of audiobook related content and actually sit down, just warm drink, whatever. Very traditional sort of experience of someone reading a physical book, but just without the physical book.
I love audiobooks for that very reason, that you can multitask. I'm at work, and I think the last audiobook I listened to might have been, end of last year, so I don't listen to too many either, but every now and again I do pick one up. It was just on it's called YouTube Secrets. It's just like just tips for YouTube by Sean Cannell, who does a YouTube channel called Think Media. Does a really great channel if you're into that type of stuff. And I was listening to that, just discussing like YouTube strategies and whatever. And I'm just there like chipping shit off a sheep's ass. And I'm like, but it's great because like if you get a book that you really like and it just makes time fly, but it's while you're doing something else that isn't enjoyable, isn't just like your free time.
Well, it's like listening to good podcasts as well. But also it's weird because I can do that, but the audiobook circumstance I can't retain the story like I need to. So there's a horses for courses component here clearly. Because I can sit, listen to you, whoever else might be, with no dramas. While I'm doing other bits and pieces, I can recall the conversation. I'll shoot you a message after about something. You and Bryce talking about the some school experiences. Sorry, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, that teachers teaching children of students that they've already taught. Like and that starting to become close-ish to a reality for me at this point with the ages of some of the kids that I've taught now. Some of them have had kids. It's becoming a bit of a reality. That traumatized me a little bit, but it was hours after. I'm like, I remember that from when we were chatting whilst I was doing whatever and filling up the car with petrol and blah, 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 and the shot you a message afterwards. Bryce thoroughly enjoying it, I might add.
He did. He did enjoy the fact that he put that in your head, but every now and again I see some of my teachers, there's one in particular, she goes for like jogs around town. And I go past her and I just imagine what she's thinking, like, my God, I taught that guy when he was 9 years old. Now I'm pushing a pram and I've got like a unshaved beard looking bloody woolly. It's like, that's not a little boy no more. And she might go into like a bit of a crisis, being like, oh, Jesus. She looks at herself in the mirror like, where has the time gone? And thinks about all the mistakes she's made in her life. And it all just snowballs until the point where
plunges
she can't take it
into a
anymore.
deep depression.
And
look after yourself.
She needs therapy. Yeah, please look after yourself. Don't do that. She was a good teacher. I quite enjoyed her, so I hope she doesn't feel that way.
I'm sure based on her exercise habits, she's probably travelling quite well.
Yeah, no, she's growing great. I was actually thinking like, yeah, it's great. But I don't know how old she is, but she must be a little bit old now. I'm almost in my 30s. And she taught me when I was 10, so I guess
a bit of water under the bridge.
I guess she's getting there. Yeah, that's right. So we're talking about reviewing games, and it made me just think about the whole Australian, I guess, games media scene, and how things are going. Because for the most part, I'm reading the websites and keeping up to date with stuff on Twitter, but as far as like everything that's going on, is it just ticking along as usual, reviewing games and all that, or is I dare say things have changed a lot since COVID as well,
Yeah.
since we've gotten back to in-person events and all that too. So yeah, what's been going on with the games media in Australia?
Look, I think the games media in Australia thing is probably fairly representative of what's happening everywhere for the most part. I think the traditional word, unfortunately, is kind of fading in its relevance, and so it's about finding different ways to access the audience, whether that's through video reviews where maybe your written review gets translated to that format. Maybe there's some little tweaks to make it more appropriate for the format as well, but maybe translates over to that. We've been doing some YouTube short style mini reviews as well to kind of give people alternate access points to the stuff that we're doing. Things like news. I mean, we've discussed this on shows in the past that I guess we came together over things like Kind of Funny in the first place, and so they, one of the first that kind of eventually launched Kind of Funny Games Daily, and that model of an hour-long podcast or YouTube video, if that was your preferred platform, where you'd get your fill of the news of the day. Like that sort of format has proliferated a lot because of what they started and launched, and obviously they kind of were inspired by others in other realms, but like that model is taking off, and so. Yes, they lean upon the written word in the first place, but these stories still exist anyway. So people are more inclined to get their news bites from that sort of format as well. So it takes away a little bit from the traditional written stuff. So I think everywhere it's getting a little bit harder. Even for myself, mid to late last year, I was doing a little bit of news writing for Game Ranks. And that was a nice little $15 a news post to take, sometimes it'd take only 20 minutes to half an hour to put together the piece and out the door, and there's a bit of money coming in. It was nice, especially when there was a big game showcase, because you could knock out a few things and put a couple hundred in the pocket for the day, and it was nice. But yeah. I woke up, because they're based in the US, and I was the only one kind of in this part of the world, but they sourced writers from all across the globe. But I woke up one morning to a message that said, "Sorry, mate, we're done." And this was in early January.
Oh, shit.
And sorry, not like the site's done, but like, "Sorry, mate, we don't have a spot for you anymore." And initially was like, "Oh, geez, okay, maybe it's the time zone, maybe it's this, that, or the other." But then I realized they culled about 80% of their writing team. It wasn't just me. It wasn't just, which was nice for a while, because I'm like, have I done something? Whatever. There was not a lot of context to the whole thing, but it turned out that it's such a hard scene these days that it would have been 80-90% of the writing team, boom, overnight. It's a rough environment, I guess, writing about video games these days. So a lot of it you do it because you love it, rather than necessarily because you're building something out of it, I guess, which is it's a sobering and sometimes a little bit depressing thought, because there's a lot of quality in kind of good writing, regardless of whether it's about video games or anything else. But the audience is trending one way, and a lot of it is because we all have less and less time in our day, and so if there's a more accessible way to get what you need, you're going to take it. I don't blame people. I mean, I listen to Kind of Funny Games Daily, as an example.
Yeah, so do I. That's how I get a lot of my news.
Exactly.
And yeah, I've started trying to just use like RSS feeds to bring a bunch of articles just to my iPad. So I just go through the iPad and use Apple News, and I go through stuff from websites that are actually on the app. There's only like a select few, but there's the Vooks and Press Start are on that app. So I try to use that instead of just random stuff on Twitter or random what's it called? YouTube Shorts. I try to actually go and have a look properly and support some of the writers.
Have you heard of a site called it's INO Reader, like I Know Reader?
No, not that one in particular.
It's basically one similar sort of thing where you basically just so you create an account and you basically just subscribe to all these sites, and whenever they have something go up, boom, there it is. So you just curate whatever you want. It's a pretty quality thing, and it was actually kind of handy for me even when I was doing the writing, that I wouldn't necessarily miss a beat, because these things would instantly get brought to the top of my feed, and I could just access it whenever I needed it. So
you have to have a look at it. I've got a couple of others. I've got like Reader and Instapaper. There's a few apps that do similar things, but Yeah, it's been good to do that, especially getting back into magazines too, because
Yep.
I've been reading magazines on the iPad too, and it's been great just for reading like features and things. Because I guess like most of people have moved away and it's gone to like YouTube or podcasts, but a lot of people who are doing that type of content are getting the news stories from the written word. It's a bit of a chicken and egg thing.
Absolutely.
You can't have that go away and you're not going to get your news from YouTube. When I was doing a lot more news on the House of Mario, I'm not out there cracking the stories. I'm getting it from books and my Nintendo news and Nintendo Life. The great work that those guys are doing there, that informs me and that allows me to
Put your spin
bring
on
it to my audience and have my thoughts on it. But you can't be like, oh well, I get my news from the House of Mario. So, well, not quite, mate. It's like for a lot of podcasts, like Kind of Funny Games Daily, they are in the exact same situation. They make sure they credit
Absolutely.
all of their writers and that, because a lot of them are their friends too, so they can't.
Yeah, you don't want to
probably
just kind
have
of
to.
steal all
Otherwise
their
that-
stuff.
Yeah, so they'll have their mates in their inbox and be like, hey, say my name, please. I wrote that. But yeah, no, it's definitely a chicken and egg thing. So people need to keep that in mind a little bit. But it's the way of a lot of things. They're disappearing, and then we sort of go, oh, wait a minute, I missed that. We need that. Oh shit, and it's too late, too little, too late.
And it's nice in a sense that and I guess this is not necessarily exclusive to the Australian game scene again, but the opportunities will pop up for people in other forums in terms of specifically writing. So speaking for myself, it was about in the middle of last year that I was chatting to Sandeep Rai, who was responsible for a book dedicated to the Vita, and it was a fantastic thing. I really enjoyed reading it. And he wrote me in to write for basically the sequel, which was It Only Did Everything, a PS3 related book, and it comes out. Digital copies can be bought now. Actually, the Kickstarter's been and done, and the book's been published digitally. And for those who subscribed on Kickstarter, their physical ones should be arriving imminently, I would imagine by now. But
nice.
it was fantastic to be a part of that, and I got to write a few features about things like Little Big Planet and Assassin's Creed. And then we had another chat afterwards, and so he's putting together a retro PlayStation magazine, one of probably 3 or 4 issues every single year. And there I am getting to do some stuff there as well. So it's been really nice, a nice rewarding thing to. Firstly, it's a paid gig, which is nice as well. But I mean, these are opportunities that I've never had before to be able to put something into print. Like I made sure to order one of It Only Did Everything for myself, just so that I can kind of look at that and go, like, they're my words. I wrote that. It's a really. I'm super excited, and I got very emotional about it actually when he first sent over the digital PDF. It was just a courtesy one, like, hey, you did this, like, there it is. And I wish I had some VR goggles to kind of hide my eyes in at the time, because I've done lots of writing online and plenty over many years, but to see something physically that was eventually soon going to be physically in print smacked me over the head. And it's going to be, I think that's going to be the case once my copies actually arrive that I ordered for myself. And similar again when this PlayStation magazine starts to go into circulation. We've already put together everything for the first issue, which I guess as of recording this, like, the Kickstarter's going to go live about next week, and then we're already putting in plans for the second issue, and it's a really nice thing to be able to do this sort of stuff. But again, it's not the Australian game scene specifically. It's a lot of us from different pockets around the world that just know a lot about a certain topic, and we've kind of come together to be able to do something, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, that is. And it is interesting because there is definitely an audience of people who want that sort of thing, that want like the written word about video games sort of written about in a more sophisticated way. But it's almost going the way of like vinyl records and things like that too, where it's not like, I guess, the most monetizable thing. It's, with music, it's subscriptions and playing concerts and things like that. It's not necessarily like buying the music.
Yeah.
And with the written word, when it comes to features and that, with magazines going and websites not being super monetizable, it's just like all into books and just like limited run magazines, which is great. I think it's just important that people support that if
that's what they want.
Really do want that.
And if you want to support high quality writing and all those sort of things, you've got to be willing to. And look, I mean, big books like what we did for It Only Did Everything are not cheap for people to get their hands on. I think in the end, just for me to order my own copy, especially because Sandeep's based in the UK, I think it was about and the state of the pound versus the Australian dollar, which also wasn't kind to me, but it ended up being inclusive of delivery. It ended up being like $80 for me to get one copy. It's a big 300-400 page book. Like we're not selling something minuscule and pathetic here. It's a really high quality thing with a lot of content, but it's not cheap to get your hands on it. The magazine, on the other hand, for people who want to get a physical version of it, it's like $12 Australian plus whatever the postage will be. So there's
$50 postage.
Yeah, the postage will probably triple the price. But it's kind of hard to get into these things, especially if you want the physical side of it. I personally am obviously going for the physical because I've got a personal stake in it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
but we've got lots of readers and those sort of things for those digital versions. So there's lots of opportunities there for people as well that would also save them a bit of cash too. So
yeah, no, I'm keen to check it out now that you've brought it up. Because I've heard about the book and your involvement, but I didn't know it was coming out so soon. So definitely, keen to check it out. Well, yeah,
I guess I'll plug now. Like, it only did everything is available now digitally. And for those who Kickstarter backed it, the physical version should be available, and there'll be more. I'm pretty sure Sandeep's going to put more of those into print because they've still been pretty popular even after the fact. So I know the Vita one can be bought through his own Etsy page that he's still got set up for that. So I'd imagine the PS3 book will be exactly the same, and the magazines potentially as well. But the Kickstarter's not yet live, so people got plenty of opportunity to get on board with that one.
Yeah, because I guess that, like, apart from the state of just how everything's going with online media and things, how is just with the amount of people working within like the game journalism industry, or just people like you who do it just in like their free time because they just love it so much. Is there many sort of opportunities to like work if you want to be a writer? Is there many opportunities to find a website like a player2.net?
I mean, I think there's lots of those sites that still exist. There's a lot of people doing it purely for the love of it. But obviously, if there's people who are looking for an income, maybe something that's sustainable income, the Australian scene is very, very hard. I certainly think of the likes of Press Start as being one of the Kotaku Australia being among the few examples, and there's a couple more, of course, but among the very few examples of publications in Australia where you could actually have a full-time job out of all this stuff. And in the US, it's shrinking as well. I mean, you've obviously got the big dogs like your IGNs and your GameSpots, but the crowd around them that we're also able to make a living off of it is shrinking. So, and people are having to look for alternate methods, whether it's stuff similar to what I've been doing, whether it's people creating their own Substacks, Kickstarter, Patreons, all of those sorts of models. I think they're really coming into play, and it's really the journos starting to come to the realization that people, regardless of what it is you're consuming, whether it's YouTube videos or podcasts or written word, people are gravitating more towards specific people now and uniting behind maybe a shared opinion, a shared thought, common interests. And so people are even in the written space, people are trying to build out their own personalities now more than what was once the case. Like, you would see, published by IGN, and that didn't necessarily mean anything because, IGN has so many different reviewers, etc., that it doesn't mean much to see that name there. But when you see reviewer X, Destin Legary, or whoever it might happen to be, you at least, so I've hit a controversial person with all these recent comments about Baldur's Gate 3, but anyway, you kind of know.
That was ridiculous, by the way. What the hell?
Yeah, that was huge and upset game developers everywhere there. But
oh dear,
I got what he was going for, but it was perhaps not perfectly delivered. But you kind of know what you're going to expect from someone like Destin, for example, or you know what you might expect from me, where I've got a bit of a bias towards PlayStation and Nintendo, favourable bias towards PlayStation and Nintendo. And so when you see my name, or you see a Destin, or you see someone else, you know what to expect.
Yeah, of course.
And you might have those shared interests, and so they instantly become more appealing. You're more likely to look for their stuff. That's where things have been going for years in all other forms of content, and I think finally the writing scene is kind of catching on to, like, if you want to succeed, it's about you, the person. So
yeah,
It's still tricky because there's not a lot of money in it.
Yeah.
It's written word depends on the websites more, which depends on ad rev, and there's not a lot of that either. So it's a tricky one.
Yeah. I mean, in high school, I thought it would be like my dream to move to California. Well, not move. I don't really want to move, but say if I could get into like writing about video games and all that. But, you know, with how things have gone and me growing up and realizing that's not really what I want either, it's just completely changed. I think it might be suicide to, you know, try and aim for that job for a full time, even in America, for the most part. If you want to get into covering video games, I think it's super important to have a podcast, have a YouTube presence, and, you know, if you really want to do writing and something like that, you got to sort of work it into that,
Build your
because
voice.
that's just where the audience is when it comes to doing this type of thing. And I remember years ago, even with the ABC and Good Game, how they didn't count the views on the YouTube channel towards the thing, and that's eventually why the Good Game, it wasn't getting that good of views on free-to-air TV. And it's like, well, we're not watching it there, man. We're online. We're gamers.
Yeah, live TV. What are you talking about?
Yeah, we're watching the snippets or the full show on YouTube, and, you know, that was even true back then, and it's true now. But just with like the personality thing, that's super true, because a lot of the people I follow, it's because their personalities. I'm drawn there because of their personality, and it's even like decision behind my own stuff, like my YouTube channel, I've called it iDruby, instead of the House of Mario, because, you know, just personalities is just what people are more drawn to, rather than like a overarching label. Maybe on YouTube, it's, you know, obviously that's not the only example, but I was thinking about bands as well. Like, you never see bands anymore. It's only like solo artists, and
more and more, absolutely.
It's even like the same thing in music, because you don't see like any new rock bands. Like, oh, the brand new rock band is pretty cool. Like, it's just not really a
well,
thing
sadly
that
not
I
a lot
can
of
think
rock
about
anymore either, but but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, because when you look at like your brand new releases tab or most popular tab, it's never
Individual
like
artist.
new bands. Obviously there are new bands, but they're not the super popular ones that are breaking the mainstream. So yeah, no, it's a tricky situation, but, you know, you'll always have your audience.
Absolutely.
As far as people that, you know, want to read the written word. And it's important that it's supported, because we need it around. Because goodness gracious, what's Kind of Funny Games Daily going to read
There's
if
no news.
no one's writing it? Yeah, they have to write it themselves. Jesus Christ, they're out in the field with the notepad, being like, oh shit, what happened today?
Greg's going to get back to his old news hustling days.
Yeah, might have to. then they'll be the only people with the news, and we'll have to
They have the
cipher
monopoly.
off them. Yeah, goodness gracious. Oh no. Oh no. Hope it's going well for all of the websites. Anyway, it'd be great to see everybody at PAX again, because it's always a great reminder when we see each other in person, not just over the internet watching you sit in your shed for for a few hours.
Look, it's I mean, this writing gig has given me so much over the years, and it's been, you know, introducing me to the likes of yourself and several others. I mean, it was the writing that led to kind of some shared interest with other people, that led to, oh, hang on, Kind of Funny, you know, and all of a sudden this gigantic network we built, and then lots of people going lots of different directions. And even, I mean, cycling back to kind of even your last topic there, like, writing opportunities have allowed me to play a whole bunch of games I would never have potentially tried out. I don't necessarily get paid for things I do at Player 2, but I get access to games that I might have otherwise paid for, so there's kind of a money saved thing. There's lots of perks to what have come from it, but the social thing that you've touched on there, like, that's my favourite part about all of this. I've been able to meet so many amazing people, including yourself, over the years, and, you know, get to have fantastic car rides with ridiculous exchanges about God knows what between you and Bryce, and it's awesome. It's awesome.
Talking about Pokemon at one stage there, I don't know, I can't remember, but yeah, no, that was
I'm sure I can get it and play it into the speaker again, like what we did that other time.
Yeah, you sent it to me over Facebook Messenger. I'm like, yeah, I sort of vaguely remember some of this, but yeah, no, we should have just done a full podcast. That would have been the ideal thing.
Well, I mean, are you looking to do something like that on your drive over this time? Gonna talk to the camera as you drive? Talk to the mic even?
Yeah, might. Yeah, I might do that. Especially, it's a 5 hour trip, so you got to make the most of your time.
Why not make
So
content?
you do a few, yeah, get a few podcasts in while you're going for the drive. It's especially when you're on the highway, because it's mainly just highways the whole way. It's nothing too. You're not doing
It's pretty
corners
dull.
around cliffs or anything. Yeah, so keep your eyes on the road, talk some shit. That's what I like, especially is just having I guess like the microphones and the equipment would actually allow you to have that
Yeah.
flexibility to be able to do some stuff in the car and that. But no, it's good fun. Yeah. How's everything going with like your podcast at the moment? With Dev Diary and all that, yeah, because you started up recently, started the brand new vertical of it earlier in the year.
Gigantic shout out to Simon Blackburn also, who helped produce the thumbnail, the art for Dev Diary Next Gen, which is my spin-off to Dev Diary, which I guess I've spruiked a bit on the show over the years, but I guess for anyone who's potentially new to it, Dev Diary is basically a one-on-one interview series. I get to chat to developers about their careers. It's this is I guess for Aussie people, but I'm sure maybe the show existed overseas as well. It's the This Is Your Life of video games, where I'm far better than Ray Martin. And we basically just...
It's true.
I'll take it. I'm going to claim it.
Yeah, I'll give you that to you.
I'll will it into reality. But anyway, it's essentially like a walk through game developers' careers, and we get to discuss kind of where the love of video games began, how these opportunities actually first arose, and then what they've been up to since they've been able to get into the industry. And it's allowed me to, similar to what we were talking about before with the social component of the journalism and content creation side, same with this. Like, I get to interact with game developers that I might otherwise have never really had an opportunity to ever talk to. In your most recent episode, I'm chatting to people working on Modern Warfare 3. I've got, I'm going to keep saying it so that nothing falls through. Like, I'm going to be chatting to Ben Starr later in the year, who's the voice of Clive from Final Fantasy 16. We're going to be doing that. We're going to be doing that at some point in November. For the first time ever at PAX this year, this will be public knowledge by the time this episode goes live. Dev Diary Live is going to be a panel there. I've got a guest lined up to do a panel at PAX this year, which is going to be awesome to do it in front of a live audience, however big or small that might end up being. The platform's been great, but yeah, it allowed me to build Dev Diary Next Gen, which is... I had the opportunity, I think it was the end of 2021, RMIT Uni had put together an exhibit of student projects that they had, and I went and just popped in. I had some time on the day and popped in and tried them all out. And the energy from all those students who were, really for a lot of them, this is their first chance to present in front of just the public. You could see they were incredibly nervous. And then when a couple of them realised that, hang on, we've got some journo prick that just walked in here is asking questions as well. Like, the realization kind of struck me, like, none of them are ever going to get opportunities potentially like this for quite some time, because the nature of the beast is that you get exposure through being a known commodity, and it's a bit of a cyclical thing, like you were alluding to with other aspects before, that you need to produce something to get attention, you need to get attention to be able to get opportunities to produce something. And so I thought, well, I can kind of be a bit of a circuit breaker in this and go, well, here's your platform. Like, if you're a new and aspiring developer, come and chat and we'll do it. And that way, if someone searches your name, well, there you are. Like, you're going to pop up, and Dev Diary is going to be that thing for you to at least get the ball rolling. I'm not saying I'm going to give them hundreds of thousands of ears and eyes trained upon them, but like, it's a starting point. It's a jump off point. And who knows? Maybe one day I'll provide hundreds of thousands of ears for it. The show still grows, but it's been really rewarding for me personally, and I guess kind of speaks to a component. I mean, I'm a teacher professionally, and so being able to kind of work with people who are learning and building their craft and being able to provide opportunities for people, that's always been really important to me. And so to get to do it within this video game space, it, I guess, scratches a few different kind of important things to me. So it's been fantastic so far. I had 10 guests put to me on a silver platter, and so they've been gradually being drip fed out. I'm looking to work with other bodies around those various states in Australia to get voices, because the first 10 episodes are all all kind of working with the SMART program in Victoria, and working specifically with Samurai Punk and Summerfall Studios at the moment. So 2 fantastic local studios that they get to work with. but I want to get lots of voices from all around Australia as well, and not just people based at RMLT or whatever. It's been cool, and I'm looking forward to growing it out and hopefully being a voice for people.
Yeah, I love the concept of it because, your show is great just because it's so focused on, exactly of like the type of guests you have. But just, giving voices to people so excited to get into it. That's just where like a lot of the special sauce is, going to be made. And, you might blow up because one of these people make the next greatest video game, and people search them and say, oh, look, there's this interview from God knows how long ago with this nice young man named Paul. Oh,
look, that'd all be nice. But at the end of the day, the reality is that a show like this, when they're at the very beginning of their journey, is not getting me clicks or anything like that. Like, it's not going to help me amass this gigantic audience, but it's a goodwill thing that I think is really important. I think it's certainly the best thing I think I've been able to do for the actual industry. Like, I think Dev Diary itself has been a great thing as well, because we have so many conversations about the games and maybe the developers, and when I say the developers, I mean the studios, but never necessarily the individuals. And there's hundreds of people that go behind some of the biggest games in the industry. But then there's obviously the small indies as well, and we just don't hear these stories. But so that was always really rewarding. But I realized that this is like an even greater contribution that I feel like I can make, and I enjoy doing it. So if it turns out that only 5 people listen a week and one of them is the guest themselves because they're like, sweet, that was me, then it's still worth it as far as I'm concerned. Thankfully, I'm not getting 5 listens, but I'd do it still, I think. So that's a great way to think about it, because you got to start somewhere anyway with an idea. Fortunately, I don't have those sorts of minuscule numbers listening to the show. It's been nice to kind of get a Patreon. The people helped launch Next Gen, and who knows where we can go from there as more and more people start to realize what's going on. I think it'll be nice.
Yeah. How did you find it starting up a Patreon?
Oh, look, it's it's kind of, having to kind of monitor everything and make sure that I'm sticking to everything that I've committed. Not that the Patreon has exploded straight out the gates, so it's it ticked off the very low bar that unlocked Dev Diary Next Gen, because I already had recorded like 8 out of the 10 episodes. It was always going to happen for the most part. It's like, okay, if we hit this, I'll do it. And like, great, we hit that, ding, off we go. Lofty
at 0 subscribers, I will post the first episode.
So like that, that was unlocked pretty quickly, but there's been some learnings in the whole thing. Like, okay, if I've organised with a guest to come on for a given episode, I need to make sure I put something up on the Patreon there to let people know that the episode's coming, or that I'm going to be recording it soon, because I offer the opportunity at certain tiers for people to ask whatever their questions whatever questions they might have, and I'll weave them into the show when and where appropriate. If it's going to be breaking embargoes and those sort of things, I can't. But there's those sort of, I guess, changes to my schedule that I have to kind of think about whenever these things come up. But it's been good so far. It's early days, but it's been really good. So
yeah, that's good. It makes you sort of hold you a little bit more accountable than just too. Because I know for myself sometimes it stuff slips. You're like, oh shit, like it's a little bit more of a big deal than if you just
when people put money behind you
looking at. But that's great. I'm glad that it's all going well and everything's you're having fun with what you're doing. That's the main thing. Is you're enjoying what you're doing, because at the end of the day, if you weren't, you'll just
well, I'm wasting my time, aren't I?
Do something else, I guess.
So I do love it. And I mean, whether it's the reporting on video games, just playing video games, or getting to talk to all these awesome guests, it fills the cup. So I'm pretty happy.
Absolutely. I guess to start wrapping things up, I'm thinking about just the next few months of games on Switch. I know we talked about some of our most anticipated games, but how do you feel about Super Mario Wonder? I know that's the same day as Spider-Man, so that's the same day as one of your most anticipated games. But are you looking forward to the changes made in that game compared to, I guess, the last 2D game, which is Super Mario Brothers U?
I'm pretty keen on the game, actually. Spider-Man, I'm hoping I can pull rank on, or Nintendo does an awesome job and sends through Mario nice and early, so that I like I don't want to miss this game. I'm really really excited about what they're doing. There's still a lot that I think still needs to be revealed. Unless I've missed a little content drop from Nintendo recently, I still want to kind of know, okay, what's the elephant going to do, and how are these different systems actually going to work to make this thing into something unique, but also not gimmicky. Like, it would be very easy for something like the elephant, for example, to be some gimmick. Oh, look, he's slow on plodding now. He has a long trunk, and that's cute. But what is it?
He's going to stomp.
Oh, yeah. When he, butt stomps, he just butt stomps a little bit harder. But, like, there could be some really, really cool things that come from that. And so I want to know what those are. So, because, we know what Nintendo's like. They make magic out of anything and everything. They're just some of the most creative and unique developers in the business. So, I want to see what's in store. I'm really, really excited for it. And we'll bring on October 20, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm keen to, especially with the recent news of Charles Martinet stepping down
that's
as
going to be fascinating too, yeah.
The voice of Mario. I'm just very keen to see more footage, hear the voice. I'm wondering whether there'll be more actual dialogue, not like full-on sentences, but like a little bit more. Like they sort of, after the movie, they like, oh look, we can sneak a few more words in there, because you do hear from Peach and the other characters actually speaking a lot more that you didn't hear in New Super Mario Bros. U or even like Mario Odyssey and stuff. So yeah, I'm keen to see whether we actually hear a little bit more from Mario. But it'd be funny if we just get like Chris Pratt or something. He's just like, he is the voice of Mario now. He has engulfed the whole series.
The timing is pretty suspicious, right? So
a little bit. I would be a little bit nervous if it wasn't for the fact that we already heard him go woohoo, yaha, already.
Yeah, actually, good point. Good point. Because
like,
otherwise, that timing is awfully suspicious. Chris Pratt, to be fair, does a pretty damn good job as Mario in the Mario movie. But for Charles Martinet to walk away shortly after, if you just look at those two things in isolation, you go, that seems pretty sus. But yeah, actually, good point. We do have some little voice snippets that would suggest otherwise.
Yeah, if we didn't have that announcement already, but oh my god, are they really gonna bring in Chris Chun?
Yeah. Going back to the point before about kind of written word journalism, like, I'm going to be fascinated for when the story inevitably comes out that explains how and why we got to this point. Because it doesn't feel like Charles necessarily has any reason to move on from the outside looking in. But who knows, maybe he's tired of it.
Yeah. I got no idea what his day-to-day as the voice of Mario is. I know he goes around to a heap of conventions, and it seems like his new role is basically resuming that and getting paid by Nintendo, I would assume. Just being a public-facing figure, doing autograph signings, convention guest, that type of thing that he's been doing a lot of. But as far as, actually, Nintendo saying, look, Charles, we need you in the voice booth, I don't think it's all that much, because a lot of the games, they recycle Mario's voice, apart from the big new games that are coming out, like Mario Odyssey, obviously a bunch of new stuff. But when it comes to like Mario Strikers,
they can just use old samples.
Old samples. Like, woohoo! So yeah, I don't know what his day to day, how much he actually.
You're doing some pretty good impressions there. Are you sure you're not the new Mario?
Look, that would be that. Now that's a dream job. Could you imagine?
The House of Mario is in fact playing host to the voice of Mario.
Yes, that's right. It's me, a Mario.
Now I feel like I referenced Ben Starr before, but did you catch his? Yeah,
yeah, I did. Yes, I did. Because when you said Ben Starr before, I saw that. I was laughing at that today. Yes, that was hilarious.
Was very, very good, and that impression there felt very, very Clive from Final Fantasy 16 as Mario. With a few F-bombs.
To catch anybody up, Ben Starr, voice of Clive from Final Fantasy 16, put out his
audition,
little parody of an audition, being like, "It's a me, a Mario. It's a fucking me, Mario." Yeah, that's very good. Very funny.
I liked it a lot. The guy's a funny bloke.
I'd like to be playing Mario Wonder. Play Mario Wonder. You do like triple jumps, like wahoo, yaha. Whew. Yes.
Fuck off, Bowser.
So, Bowser, fucking take this. It's like, what am I playing? And the rest of the characters are still like, woohoo! So, just a complete
is
Sweet
the Dark
change.
Mario timeline.
No, it's funny because like all of these games that were announced in the Direct a couple of months ago, I kind of forgot about them in respect, but just like, you know, new WarioWare game, new Mario Wonder,
Mario
It
RPG.
was today I was reminded about Mario RPG. I'm like, oh yeah, like, you know, I cover this shit. I'm kind of forgetting about it a little bit. I'm thinking about too much of my backlog, and I'm actually not looking that far
They've
ahead.
really
when it
stacked the
comes
deck
to
pretty well for the rest of the year.
October. Yeah. No, it's a little bit crazy because I haven't even started Pikmin 4 yet. I'm behind, man.
Missing one of the games
Like
of
I
the
said
year,
earlier.
mate. Well, I say that, and you know, anyone can throw Zelda back in my face, but it's so good. It is so good, Pikmin 4.
People can't throw it back in your face if it's your game of the year, mate. If you think Zelda's trash, you're allowed to think Zelda's trash.
But it's
It's
baseless at
okay.
the moment, to be fair. So I can sit here and say my piece about
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild. I cannot speak ill of Tears of the Kingdom yet. I don't have any grounds to. For now.
Just to pay a little reference to what we were talking about before the show, but just play an hour of it. Be like, The Legend of Zelda thoughts,
Not
not
a
a review. Yeah, and you'll be right.
Someone's going to come for me at that point.
Yeah. The game's out. You'll be
exactly.
right.
Yeah, I'm pretty safe at this point.
But Paul, I think that does it for this sleepover at the House of Mario. It's been great having you. Just thank you so much for your time. It was great to talk to you again instead of waiting for a full rotation of the Earth until PAX Australia comes around again.
I'm looking forward to that as well, but it's been great to get to have a chat in the meantime.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So anybody that wants to check out your work, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but of course, where can people find it? There'll be links in the show notes, but let us know where you can find it.
Yeah, so I guess a lot of the core written stuff, and we touched on that pillar before, you can find that at player2.net.au, but also the books that I referenced earlier. There's It Only Did Everything. It's a PS3 book that is out now. Love for people to go check that one out. I've contributed a few features to it, but there's a lot of amazing content from the likes of Colin Moriarty and several others that all contributed to the book as well. So people should go and check that out. Some fantastic writers involved. RPM, which is the Retro PlayStation magazine, that's a every 3 to 4 month feature that we'll be putting out there. The Kickstarter for that goes live September 1st, so people can go check that one out, and I'm sure there'll be lots of opportunities to pick up the magazine after the fact if you happen to miss the Kickstarter as well. There's Dev Diary. We've spoken about that, but the Dev Diary podcast, so go look for that one on all the good and the bad podcast services. It'll be there for you. Dev Diary Next Gen feeds directly into that one, so you don't have to worry about looking for an additional feed for that. What else do I do? I think that's about it. So
Yeah. Well, this man will be able to keep you entertained for hours. You'll be able to read a bit in the morning, listen to a podcast throughout the day, and finish the night with a nice sit down and read with a physical book.
Exactly. Get
So
comfy.
keep your company all day, which is absolutely fantastic.
It's like a 24-hour sleepover for someone with me. So, though my wife would
it's
attest
like
that 24 hours with me is far too much. So, it's your call to make
24 hours.
if you're a sucker, all right?
She's doing pretty well. If 24 hours is a bit too much for her.
Paul, can you just
She's
go play a
doing pretty
video game,
well.
please? Just get out.
Yeah, maybe that's your strategy.
I've been
actually.
playing it well for
Like, just-
8 years.
Yeah,
What are we doing?
no,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
congratulations on that. But until next time, guys, the doors to the House of Mario are bloody. I fell over my words there. Bloody, it's getting late here. I've had too many Coca-Colas. But yes, like I said, I tried to say, the doors to the House of Mario, they're closed. Bye-bye, everyone.
See ya. The door's closed on your face on the way through there.
The House of Mario, a Nintendo podcast, is recorded in the southeast of South Australia. It is produced by me, Drew Agnew, and is supported by my kind and generous housemates at patreon.com/idruby. Call in for my behind-the-scenes podcast, secret recordings, and heaps good, the South Aussie take on a conversational show with my good friend Josh of Nintendvania. A huge shout out to the legends who support me at the iDruby Patreon mega feed tier or higher on Patreon, including Brendan Myers, Oliver Chaston, Samuel Hay, DJ, and Lemonade. Let's continue to make passionate Nintendo content as we climb the stairs to 300. Thank you.